So you guys know that I love filmmaking, and when Beatbot asked me to not just make a video on their AI pool cleaning robot, but also film a commercial, I was immediately on board. Now I want to bring you guys behind the scenes, share with you the story of this production, the challenges that we faced, and of course, the final piece. So without further ado, let's get started. Now what's really cool is that Beatbot actually gave us full creative freedom to basically make any commercial that we wanted, which meant that we had to come up with a really fun concept. Now we can't make a commercial without understanding what the product is and how it works. Now for full transparency, I don't own a swimming pool. This is actually my buddy's Mo's house, who's actually letting us use his home for this commercial. Now I got a chance to actually play with this and use this for over a week and really test it out. Here's the challenging part, is trying to make a 60 to 90 second commercial in a digestible manner, because this thing does so much. I do want to talk about some of its features. For example, this is a cordless wireless design. So what you're seeing here is actually the Beatbot AquaSense sitting on a charger, and this has a 10,400 milliamp battery, which will last a very long time. And some of its features, basically like a 5-in-1 cleaner. So when I pick this up and I set it in the pool, using AI technology, it actually scans the pool, it creates a map, and it basically has 100% coverage. And once it does that, it actually begins to dive. And when it dives, it starts to clean the floor with brushes. It has a vacuum. So it's kind of like a Roomba for your swimming pool, right? So it sucks up all the dirt, debris, anything that it sees underwater. Also cleans the actual walls, which is impressive. The water line, the surface. Now, all of this can be controlled using an app. So you get software updates, you can set up the different cleaning modes, and then of course when everything is all said and done, it's got this little filter that you just dump and wash. So trying to convey all that information, again, in a 60, 90 second commercial, we had to come up with a really good idea. So Evan and I came up with a bunch of different concepts, and we landed on one which we both thought it was kind of funny, and it ends up being where there's this pool boy who comes to a house which he's very familiar with, and he's waiting for her to kind of leave. Once she leaves, he ends up going to his Cybertruck and he grabs the Beatbot and puts it in the swimming pool. And then while this is doing all the work, he goes in the house and he's having the time of his life. Now, it's a little fun towards the end, and I kind of want you guys to watch it, so I don't want to spoil it for you. Cool. Put it back in. Cool. Cut, moving on. Cool. So for our camera setup, I used my Red Komodo X. Like I said before, I love Red Komodo RAW, especially filming outside. I want to be able to have that flexibility in post. Lenses, we use Irix lenses. They're very clinical. They don't have a bunch of character, which I know some people might look at that as a bad thing. We're not shooting a narrative film, so I don't want to detract from any of the characteristics on the sides or blurriness. I just want it to be very clean, and the Irix lenses are great. We also used a Sony FX3. So all the underwater shots were filmed with the Sony FX3 using this underwater housing that I bought from Amazon. Now there's also two shots that I used the FX3 inside, which were the ones where he opens up the fridge. Won't give too much away, but yeah, anytime you see the fridge shot, it was an FX3. Let's talk about the underwater FX3 rig. So as I mentioned, I bought this on Amazon for about $1,000, and originally I was gonna hire an underwater cinematographer, but I do like to figure things out and kind of learn new things. But also, I decided to throw Evan in the water and have him do it. That was a bad idea. It ended up coming out very shaky, a lot of like movement, and I'm like, oh gosh, maybe, you know what they say, if you want something done right, do it yourself. Well, the next day I did it myself, and guess what? It wasn't Evan's fault. It's freaking hard to film underwater, so all my footage was really shaky. The thing is, this thing tries to float up. It's really hard to go underwater and try to get shots when you can't even see the screen. So I came up with this little contraption to get those underwater shots and kind of get the upward shots. I mean, it's very difficult to do. So props to those that can film underwater, and I should have just hired one from the get-go, but we ended up getting the shots out of like the 300 shots that we did. I think 10 of them came out great, which is the ones that you see in the final film.
Stupid I read fourth duty.
Show the camera. Another challenge that we faced was when we were filming all the underwater shots. You would think that when we want to film the pool being dirty, that we would have to shoot it in a dirty pool. Here's the problem. The camera picks up all the murky water and everything, that it's really hard to actually see the robot doing its job. So we actually ended up having to let the robot clean the pool, and we had to film those shots, the dirty shots, into clean pull. Now you see this type of movie magic all the time. For example, when they shoot commercials, a lot of times when they use syrup for like pancakes, it's not actually syrup, it's like motor oil. And I'm not saying that this does not clean the pull. What I'm saying is to film these shots, we had to use a clean pull to get the dirty shots, if that makes sense. Another challenge that we face is not being able to control the robot. What I mean is we didn't have like a remote control that we can actually have the robot do things that we wanted. The robot has a set path and we have to follow that path. There's no way for us to control that, which is great for the robot and its cleaning mode, but for us it just was terrible because we had to wait for the robot to do things. For example, to clean the water line and the surface, like it takes a couple hours for the robot to do that because it's trying to do a good job doing the floor, the walls, then it goes to the water line and surface. So for us, sometimes it was like, okay, well, we gotta wait 3 hours to get those underwater shots because that's just the way it is. And obviously there's really no way to fake it because we can't put the robot on top and have the motors work. It just doesn't work that way. Now, before I show you guys the commercial, despite the challenges that we faced, there was a big learning experience. And I think that's the big takeaway. When you work on a project, it's not always gonna go your way, but you're gonna learn from it. And that was the thing. Like if I had to redo this whole entire commercial, I would actually do it a lot different. And I think that's the most important thing is don't be afraid to take risks, but most importantly, like just go out there and do it. I know that sounds really cheesy, but that's really like the main takeaway. So anyway, let me show you guys the commercial. And again, huge shout out to AquaSense for trusting me with my vision. Hard day at work, huh?
Yeah, man, I'm ready to go. Got him.